What's up guys, Nizo here. Today we're having a small shootout between two of Starsounds 8-inch woofers. The first, their DVC, comes loaded in an enclosure, off-the-shelf enclosure. The second, an SVC, same story, comes in an enclosure. We're going to try them both out. We're going to hook them up on the same amplifier, and we're going to tell you when to go with a DVC and when to go with an SVC. By kicking off this review, instead of our usual unboxing, I decided to add some technical content. I used my STS speaker test system to pull some data from the speakers. The first TS parameters you'll see is the woofer, brand new out of the box or in the box. The second set that you'll see is after 5 hours of playing time. What I want you to pay attention to is how much the TS parameters have changed in just 5 hours of playing time. This should give you an idea as to what happens to a speaker when it plays in or breaks in. So with the actual test, I put the SMD on dyno mode, and I didn't use a test tone, I actually used a song. So I wanted to see what kind of power we're looking at with a particular song. So this tells us there's 8.1 ohm impedance rise, 8.2, is it fluctuating? Okay, basically the best result, 74 watts RMS out of the amplifier. Let's move on to the DVC subwoofer and then we'll talk about that a little. So with the DVC subwoofer, here's where things get very interesting. You'll see that the impedance rise is only 3.8 ohm. So we've got a 2 ohm static load and it gives us 3.8 ohm impedance rise. Because of the lower impedance rise, it's able to extract 106 watts RMS from the amplifier. Now here we have the same amplifier putting out two totally different power ratings. Why? Because of impedance. The higher the impedance, the less the power. So in this application, by using a DVC subwoofer, we were able to extract twice the amount of power. Now I'm going to set both of them at more or less the same SPL difference. Okay, before we get into the actual listening test, I wanted to show you the settings we use, the filters. There was a question once where someone asked me, how do you set the crossover on your system? Well, the answer is different systems will run different crossover points. Not everything is exactly the same. Not every system, what works for me doesn't work for you. My car could work at 100 hertz because of certain resonance and so forth. Your car could be 110 hertz or 90 hertz or 80 hertz for whatever reason. I could use a 12 dB slope. Yours could need a 18 or vice versa. In this particular car, with the 8-inch woofer, I use a 100 hertz cutoff with 18 dB slope, or you could use 80 hertz also works with a 12 dB slope. So 80 hertz is, if you look at your frequency band, like from 20 hertz is there, then as it travels all the way down, at 80 hertz it will start dropping down. So after 80 hertz, whatever's after 80 hertz, it will cut off. The 12 dB and 18 dB is how sharp it cuts it off. The higher the number, the sharper the roll off. So 6 dB will be a gradual roll off. 12 dB, I mainly use 12 and 18 dB slopes. On the odd occasion, I'll use a 24 dB slope. If this was a 10, I might have used a 24 dB slope there. This head unit doesn't have, like a DSP would, you'd be able to go into 55 or 57. Here you've got fixed points to work with: 50 Hertz, 63, 80, 100. So if I wanted 90, because the head unit doesn't have 90, I could actually almost achieve it by using 80 Hertz with a narrower roll-off, as opposed to if I were to use 100 with an 18 dB, I could maybe get away with 80 at the 12 dB slope. But you'll play around with that and listen to how it integrates with your mid-range, your mid-bass, your fronts basically. But again, that's not how you'd set up a street pounder, but we're not reviewing a street pounder. This is for daily normal listening. So we'll go back up 100 Hertz, 18 dB slope. Unlike with the DVC, the DVC will run it at a lower level. Here we'll run it a bit higher because the amplifier doesn't put out as much power at 4 ohm static load than it does with the DVC at 2 ohm static load. So yeah, 5 dB. I went through it. It sounds more or less the same. So yeah, let's have a listen to it. 5 dB, 100 Hertz. We'll listen to Amp Dyno, Peru. Let's give it a go. Okay, we've got the DVC subwoofer in right now. I've had to drop the bass level down quite a bit. It is louder than the SVC, obviously, because there's a lot more power going into it. But yeah, let's dive into it. Peru Amp Dyno version. One thing I've noticed straight off the bat is I'm picking up a lot more vibrations, rattles than I did before with the SVC subwoofer. Also can't go too crazy on the volume because it distorts really early. Okay, the big debate has always been what's better, DVC or SVC? Honest truth is, it's system dependent. The only difference between a DVC and an SVC, if they were both the exact same subwoofers, is one allows the amplifier to go down to a lower load, and when it goes to a lower load, you're able to extract more power from the amplifier. Does it sound louder? Yes, it does, because as we've seen with the AMM1, the DVC requested twice as much power from the amplifier than the SVC did, because it picks up a lower impedance. If you look at amplifier specifications, it will tell you at 1 ohm 1000 watts, at 2 ohm 700 watts, at 4 ohm 500 watts. So the ratings alone tells you that a DVC would be better to get more output out of an amplifier. However, this isn't always the case. Not all amplifiers can do low loads, and that's when you'd use an SVC. Also, with the DVC, when you really crank in it for extended periods of time, the amplifier does get a lot warmer, like quite a bit. The smaller the amplifier, the warmer it's going to get. Personally, I would rather use a much bigger amplifier, a higher output amplifier with an SVC, but if you can't really afford a better amplifier, use the smaller one with the DVC, but just make sure that it doesn't overheat. Anyway, there you have it. You listen to it. You've seen everything. You draw your own conclusions. I'm not going to tell you this is better or that's better. I've basically just presented you with the facts and the differences. If you have any comments, please do share them with us. We'd love to hear from you. Please don't forget to like, follow, subscribe. Thanks very much. See you soon.